We are back with the 6th episode of RippleMakers. If you remember, this is a podcast series on the human side of transformation. And I'm Ranan Bhattacharya, Practice Head for Change and Transformation Consulting at Marg. There is a reason behind what we discuss in this series. And a huge part of the large transformation programs still miss their stated goals. And unfortunately, that has not improved even after more than 2 decades after implementing a lot of different processes, practices. So we are definitely missing out one important aspect. And if you consider the huge proportion of that work, the design, the delivery, the actual making, all these are now happening as part of the India's global capability centers, which means the human side of the transformation isn't just a CXO conversation somewhere else in the world. So it's an operating reality being lived every day in the GCCs that quietly carry global enterprises. And that's why it's more important that we don't ignore the human side of the large transformations, which are causing us creating a gap between achieving the desired value from a transformation and what it is presently delivering in most of the cases. So today's guest has spent more than 3 decades inside this world. I'm privileged to have Tanay Kediyal, who is the partner of Gloplax and a professor of practice. He has been part of building and leading high-impact global capability centers for ages. Tanay has served as a managing director, as a CEO of leading insurance GCC. He has been an executive vice president of a major global bank with deep board-level experience, including NASSCOM's GCC Council. So we cannot have a better person than Tanay to give us the insights about the importance of the human side of the transformation, which is equally important to produce the best result from a transformation. So Tanay, very glad to welcome you to RippleMakers and real pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Ranan, and thank you for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Excellent. I'm really excited to kind of have the conversation with you because I know I've been in discussion with you in multiple forums, and there always has been great examples come from you, and I'm sure like this will be of great value to the audiences who will be listening to this podcast. So to start with, I think one of the biggest discussion or the biggest dilemma in people's mind today from the AI transformation is still the trust on the AI outputs. While people are very excited, people see value of it, using artificial intelligence, but at the same time, there have been multiple discussions between the leaders in the say like executive boardrooms that people are still questioning that how trustworthy are these implementations and how we do it. So definitely we would love to hear from you is that what is your suggestion to build trust in the AI outputs?
Thank you. And I think today any conversation without the use of the word AI seems to be getting more and more difficult. So it is definitely there to stay. A good friend of mine speaks for the fact that AI is going to be pretty much like a utility in there. I'm sure when the first time people started using electricity and there was some mishap or the other that happened, the fear to use electricity would have been very high in there as well. So as we speak for AI, and especially around the question that you had for trust, there is definitely a lot that's in there. And some of it is quite genuine. Some of it is quite not knowing what AI is. But, I'll pivot around the word trust. And in real life as well, when we talk about the trust that we are building for ourselves, it's reflected around the character and the integrity we bring to the table. It depends upon the way we are able to communicate with each other and build that trust. But also about knowing our boundaries and admitting our mistakes, and about being consistent and reliable and turning up every time to that conversation that we are having. And it's not just about saying, it's also about listening and thinking and knowing what is possible and what to commit or not to commit. And I think AI is no different, or our experience with AI is no different. Clearly, there is a lot with respect to ethics and with respect to biases that the model brings in that needs to be thought through to understand, is it being fair, and acknowledging and understanding what it can do and not do. But it's also about taking that view about it being a black box out. It's about building the transparency with that AI model or the LLM model that we might be working with it. Even when I try out Claude or when I try out one of the current Gen AI solutions, not only am I looking for the answer, I actually ask it to explain to me how is it arriving to whatever it's arriving towards, justifying its outputs, justifying and thinking through what it is, what's it thinking in there as well. And this, to me, will go, the transparency around it, the bias mitigation, the ethical question, the explainability, the boundaries of knowing where it can do something or where not, that acknowledgement that yes, it will hallucinate. It's never going to be 100%. What is the, is it 80% or 90% or 50% in terms of its trainability in there? And not just trainability of the model, but I think of the user also. As I build my trust on AI, will depend upon me building my capability, my ability to understand all of those questions and know those boundaries of what is possible. That to me, and that acknowledgement that it is open to errors and hallucination will go a long way. And then just continuing to engage consistently and experimenting with it, that will go a long way to build that trust. But I think there's still some more to go, not just in terms of these, but also with the technology to be coming in there. That's my take with respect to my journey with AI.
Linking our discussion from the trust to something also which the leaders are kind of getting quite confused at times or quite unclear at times is like, how do I measure? So trust is on one part, and the other part is like, how do I measure that if this transformation is really kind of bringing me the results? So on one hand, people are like definitely flaunting that how many initiatives the organizations are taking, how many license usage people are doing, how much token usage is happening, kind of a thing. But to be honest, none of this is really giving us real insight of like what's the outcome happening. So if I ask you is like, which will be the one or two key metrics or measuring criteria should every CXO be tracking for the transformation health check? What will be your suggestions?
Most of the times, and Ranan, I will agree with you, most of the times we end up using, usually the indicators are lead or lag indicators. And most of the times we end up using the lag indicators.
Yeah.
And I know your question is specific around AI, but I would say for other things in there as well. So, in the past, we have seen when we talked about diversity and inclusion, and when we were talking about diversity and, gender, just picking gender as an example, most of the times it would say, what is the percentage of women in your office? And there is a lag indicator that really comes in. And it's a change. As an organization, you're going through that change. But the lag indicator is only, are you at 50%, 20%, 10%? And how do you do that against an industry? And that's a measure people would use. And I think we're still stuck in that era where we are still trying to talk through with, like you said, as examples, to say how many use cases am I really working through? What's the token utilization that I have? And even adoption rate. People have been trained on that AI tool that is in there, or how many of these examples or use cases are really coming in. But I think for looking at that change and driving that change, it has to move more towards the lead indicators and what is happening today. And terms of the behavior that you are seeing and being demonstrated on the floor, or the way the culture is changing in there as well, the way the narrative and the conversation is changing in there. And this is a pulse that you can get more real time and now. When you see when a presentation is being made, are we depending upon and talking about how I've used the tools available to me to be able to do it? As I bring about changes in there and the culture of innovation in there, am I really adopting that in that fashion in there? And we can use things like a pulse survey, which is real and now, but it is also tested out by the energy and the engagement within the team. And I think it's important for every CXO to be able to keep a track of that pulse, of that engagement, of that behavioral demonstration, which is more than just a number of 90% of my people have ticked and gone and done that training. I think that is a change that I would keep. You're talking about AI. Just putting a plug in there. Glover's does these GCC setups, and that's a big transformation and a change for the parent organization in there. And our primary input there is, as you go about this change, it's important to put a plan in place. Just being aware of what you're wanting to drive through, and then being able to assess to say, hey, if I want to get this to this end destination, those key results that I'm looking to be achieving, what kind of a cadence do I put for myself? How do I enable my people? How do I provide them with that tool? How do I consistently track to my goals? How do I track those key results and see? And those can be, the speed of adoption. Those can be tracking of our goals. I know we use Glover's, which is a product that actually gives you consistently the ability to see against your goal, how are you tracking and what you're progressing. So I think that would be an equally important thing for every CXO to put in place, is that plan, those clear objectives, those clear result areas, that cadence, and then being able to track that, see how that's progressing.
Now, if we put ourselves into a time machine that we are sitting in 2030, then definitely when we look back in 2025, 26, I'm sure like 100 companies have started journey, much more than 100. 100 is a kind of quite pessimistic number, because today everyone is talking about AI and transformation there with thousands. And I'm sure in 2030, when we sit together, we'll be only seeing at maybe 5% or 10% who have really cut through and made a serious impact compared to the others. So what do you think that which characteristics of the organization will separate out to be in that top 5-10% compared to the rest, all who are trying today?
I'm a bit, Ranan, I'm a bit influenced by a topic in there as well. And what I mean by that is, I know between yesterday and today, we are all tracking to say whether the MOU has been signed in Switzerland or not. And what is happening with respect to the geopolitical stability to come in. So, like I said at the start of our conversation, AI is clearly one of those pivots that everybody will have to get a handle on and be able to understand how that drives the future. I think equally will be this geopolitical stability, which may be out of our hands, but how we react to it. Imagine if I'm an organization based out of UK and Brexit coming, or now reverse Brexit coming. Those are also is to be aware of. And, some of these natural resources being weaponized in some fashion because of the stability. How does that impact my business? Never was it as important to understand, even for the GCC setups that we are doing today. Where should we really go? Is some of this geopolitical stability actually driving the future about more resilience to be coming with respect to the infrastructure that we set for ourselves? And when I say infrastructure, not just physical. So I would say AI and geopolitical stability come to my mind as the top two right now, and it's a bit topical to say the organizations of the future will have to get on top of this. their ability to understand AI, their ability to be able to wade through the myriad of these changes that are happening, not just in technology, but globally, those lineups and associations that are happening will play a important role in there. And then some of the other things which I feel have been there for a while, but still continue to be is learnability. The ability of the organization to evolve itself, not just depend upon its things from the past, be able to learn and adapt in an agile way the future. So that agility, that learnability, that is a key part of the culture that every organization will need to have. But the most important pivot, at an individual level, Ranan, I feel it's becoming very important, and especially the current generation is spending a lot more time than some of the past, is the question about purpose. The organization will need to be very clear, and we have spoken about it in the terms of vision and mission, but what is the purpose of the organization? And is the purpose aligned to be what it means in 2030? And then the talent it's trying to bring in, how do we ensure that their purpose lines up to this purpose? Because that's the double engine that will really make a difference. And the talent of the future is asking this question even before the CEO of the organization is thinking that through. So it's no more just about profitability. It's also about driving that direction for the future. And I think the organizations that will be doing more and even better in 2030, the existing ones too, will be the ones who will be able to wade through all of this, have a clear goalpost in terms of the purpose that they drive, be able to demonstrate the agility, the learnability to wade through change, whether it is an AI-led change or a geopolitical stability question. That's how I see it, Ranan.
So I think we have talked a little bit in the serious way. So let's have a little bit of fun. So I want to kind of put you into a rapid fire round, and in which I'll ask you 5 questions, and preferably you don't think too much. And whatever comes to your mind in 1 or 2 words, you just tell us, and let's see that what's your input for these questions. Are you ready?
I'll try my best.
All the best. I'll keep it simple. So to start with, one must-have skill for the leaders today.
The one thing that they should have is the ability and the readiness to listen. Is the question.
Super. Listening skill. Then one of the best practice of today, which is likely to become obsolete.
So I think looking into too much of the past or past data driving the future is going to be challenged, because we are going through that paradigm shift.
If culture had a smell, what would it be?
If culture had a smell, it would be the smell of success.
Oh, awesome. One thing people leaders must stop doing.
I think I would, and then you're getting tougher with every question that you're kind of asking me, is I think as people leaders, and I think the way many of us have been culturally tuned to it, we are tuned, and I've been guilty of that at home and there as well, and my 2 boys pointed out, we spend a lot of time saying how to do a thing. And I think we need to shift that more towards what are we wanting to do and why we are going to do that. And they'll surprise us. They'll surprise us with their own approach to what they bring, the results they bring out.
Absolutely. So true. And to end with, one big time waster of today.
I think of the biggest time waster, I would say, is doom scrolling. Enough of doing that in there, and it takes away quite a bit of our time just looking into the phone, puts pressure on our neck and creates a lot. But I think doom scrolling is not just with technology. I think doom scrolling is something also we end up doing where we either live in the past or the future. Oh, I did that wrong. I should have done that in a different way. That was a better approach. Or if when this person says this, I will respond with this. I think best to stay in the present.
Absolutely. Definitely, I'm done with my questions. But before we leave the room, I think definitely everyone would love to hear one piece of advice from you for all the leaders who are into various kind of transformation journey today, because I'm sure like everybody is experiencing change in their organization in one way or the other, and that's not going to change soon also. So one last piece of advice from you for everyone.
First of all, Ranan, it was a great conversation. I like your style and the way you kind of started with. All I'll say is I'll share my own experience in there as well. And you mentioned at the start 30 years now. I think one should experiment and be ready to fail as much as possible. If I look back in time and look at the 30 years, I would say I've done probably 10 very distinct, very different jobs in there. Some of them well, others not as well. So just build on that experience and be ready to fail. Failure is failure as long as you've not learned anything out of it. Is the question.
Fantastic. We should all be courageous to try and fail and learn continuously. Thank you so much. And to everyone, that's the kind of perspective you only get from someone who has actually done this for ages. He has lived into that. He has learned from that. He has failed from that, and he has much larger success story to talk about. So Tanay, once again, thank you so much for your time, the candor, and the long view, what you expressed and shared with all of us. To everyone listening, 6 episodes in, what I have learned hosting this show is that leaders who actually shift transformation outcomes share something in common. They're curious, they're patient, they're not afraid to take chances. So if Tanay just gave you something worth sharing, pass it on to your colleagues, your friends, and until next time, keep making ripples. And one reminder to everyone is that we are coming with Synapse 2026 on the 4th August in Bangalore, which is going to be the forum for all the change and transformation leaders together. So watch out our posts, and there will be a link in this podcast as well. So looking forward to see you all there. Thank you.